My name is Mary Lyle. I'm the Director of Education, and I'm joined today by our curator, Kim Clonch. Our next film is Some Like It Hot. It was released in 1959. It was written, directed, and produced by Billy Wilder. He was a very accomplished director. Some of his movies I'm going to go ahead and list. Double Indemnity. It's a film noir classic. How about Sunset Boulevard? The Apartment. Yes. Stalag 17 is another one of his. He was born in Germany.
Until 1933, when Hitler came into power, he actually worked for films and screenwriters, and then he moved to America. He went to Hollywood, learned English, and then he started making all these films. But he didn't ever want to go back to Germany because of Hitler and the Nazi regime.
Well, he was a prolific writer. Could write great comedy, being able to see the absurdity in situations. He always had to write with a partner, and one of his favorite screenwriting partners was I.A.L. Diamond. Billy Wilder always needed a sounding board, even if he would have his mind made up. If Mr. Diamond had a better idea, well, he wasn't so egotistical that he wouldn't take a good idea when it was given to him. So Billy Wilder is so witty and so insightful, and he can be a little bit risque. I think it's wonderful that they set it back in the Roaring '20s during the Jazz Age. It's a farce. You know, we think about that era, the gangsters, the bootleg liquor, and
speakeasies.
I think that was a great setting for this. It won 6 Academy Award nominations. Jack Lemmon was nominated as Best Actor, Billy Wilder Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Black and White Cinematography, and Best Black and White Art Direction. In those days, they did have 2 categories. A lot of films were still being filmed in black and white. The only Oscar that it did win was for Best Costume Design. That was Ori Kelly, a very famous costume designer, and he won the only Oscar. American Film Institute ranks this number 1 in the category of Best Comedies or Best Laughs, and number 14 in Best Overall Film Ever. And it was also inducted into the Film Registry at the Library of Congress in 1989. And I think it is one of the best comedies ever. It stars Tony Curtis, and he was the first one that was cast in this. Number 1.
Really?
Billy Wilder had met him. Right away, he thought of him for the role of Joe. Marilyn Monroe was really not considered, even though Billy Wilder had worked with her in the 7-Year Itch. He thought that they wouldn't be able to get her. But when Marilyn Monroe said that she wanted to do the role, of course he had to take her. She had the big name, big box office, and along with Tony Curtis, that left him some options for casting the third lead. At first, he wanted Frank Sinatra to play the role.
That would have been amazing.
He set up an appointment, and Frank Sinatra stood him up. The next people that he considered were Jerry Lewis or Danny Kaye. Good comedians. I just can't see them being as great as Lemmon.
I can kind of see Jerry Lewis being as good or just barely below, but I see what you're saying.
Jack Lemmon didn't have the big name at the time, and Billy Wilder was afraid of casting him in it because he needed the box office. Once Marilyn signed on, Jack Lemmon was acceptable. Also, supporting cast, we have George Rath as Spats Columbo. George Rath, who played lots of gangsters in the 30s. Then there's Pat O'Brien. Pat O'Brien was in a lot of films with Jimmy Cagney. Then you also have Joe E. Brown. Joe E. Brown was from vaudeville originally. He appeared in silent films, and then in talking pictures, you have these 3 great old-time actors. Also, Nehemiah Persoff, he plays Little Bonaparte, and that was a role that they wanted Edward G. Robinson to play. Robinson and Raft hated each other. Edward G. Robinson said he'd never work with George Raft again. In a very small part, you have Edward G. Robinson Jr. The exterior was filmed at Hotel del Coronado near San Diego. They filmed all the exteriors on location, and they filmed those first, and then they went and did interiors. They did have some difficulty with Marilyn Monroe. At the time this was filmed, she was married to playwright Arthur Miller. When filming started, Marilyn Monroe discovered that she was pregnant.
Oh.
And she had suffered a miscarriage, so she was trying to be more cautious, not taking chances, but her behavior was very erratic. And you have Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon and Billy Wilder. These are all pros. She had a simple line. She kept blowing it. And finally, Billy Wilder taped the line somewhere in her vision. Mm-hmm. It was a difficult shoot. Regardless of that, I think she gets a very good performance. George Rath was a dancer, and a lot of people don't know that about him because he played so many gangster roles. When Joey Brown and Jack Lemmon were doing the tango, it was George Raft who taught him how to tango. Well, there was a big controversy when this film was released. Some of Marilyn's costumes accentuated a little bit too much of her best features.
If I remember correctly, Marilyn Monroe almost liked every outfit that she was in to be skin tight, so she was almost sewn into every single dress she ever.
Who's your favorite character in the film? I love Daphne. I love Jack Lemmon as Jerry/Daphne. And then Tony Curtis makes me laugh when he does that horrible Cary Grant impression. When Billy Wilder showed it to Cary Grant, just sort of laughed it off and said, "That's not me." Do you have a favorite moment in the film?
I actually enjoy the beginning.
Oh, do you?
Just kind of like the mob setting and everything that happens that they witness that they're trying to run away from. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert.
My favorite line from the film is when Jerry comes back. He's still dressed as a girl, and he's been tangoing all night, and he's got these maracas. He's just going bum, 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 bum. Joe, that's Tony Curtis, is talking to him, and Jerry says, "I'm engaged." And Joe said, "Well, congratulations. Who's the lucky girl?" And Jerry goes, "I am." Just perfect comic timing. To me, it's a classic film because it endures. As you said before, it is in popular culture. If you think about Bosom Buddies, where Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari are posing as women. Just
I give it
what you feel.
5.
For me, it's a big fat 10. The writing is spot on in the directing, the acting. Everything works so well together. We're interested, once again, viewers, if you want to share your thoughts about this film, please do that. We have a Facebook page. You can send comments on our Facebook page. We have 4 more films that we're going to be introducing.
Just enjoy the movies and have some light-hearted fun.
Thank you, Miss Kim.
You're welcome.